So there I was. I was on my mountain bike, sweat in my eyes. I am clinging to my handlebars because I have never rode my bike this well before in my life. I am jumping logs. I am jumping off of waterfalls. I am hammering on the pedals like never before. I don't know how I'm riding like this. So I'll never forget it. As I come down this, it was really steep. I hit a bank turn, and my bike goes parallel to the ground as I scream through this turn. It was unbelievable. And just as I come out of that turn, there's my wife on the trail. And I see her, and she's quite pregnant, to be honest. And I'm like, what are you doing? Well, okay, whatever. And I just keep pedaling. And I get about another 100 yards down the trail. Again, the best I have ever rode my bike. Oh my goodness, those are... So, the best I have ever rode my bike. And my very beautiful, but 9 months plus a couple days along wife says, Scott, stop, it's time. What do you mean? She goes, it's time. Would you wake up? It is time. Literally, my wife shakes me and I come out of what is the best dream of my life on Christmas Eve, year 2000. She says, Scott, wake up. The baby is coming. Legit. The dream is over and this is all true. And so I shake off the cobwebs. I am in my 20s at this point. This is 15 years ago today. And I go, okay, so, okay, dads, you've been there, right? Do you guys remember the moment when your wife said, hey, it's time for the first time? So, we are living in Green Bay, Wisconsin at this point. And so, we run downstairs, we hop in the car, and we go off to, that's the actual hospital where my daughter was born that day, Belen Hospital. But again, let me remind you, it is December 24th in Green Bay, Wisconsin. And it started snowing in October that year. What snowed in October melted in April that year. That picture is actually, oh, sorry, my stuff's back there, so I'm pointing there. That picture is an actual shot of downtown Green Bay. That is what it looks like. But nevertheless, we hop in our Buick Century that we had back then, and off we go. So everything goes well, right? They check us into this beautiful birthing suite. It's nicer than our apartment. There is soothing music in the background. It was amazing. I've never been... Look at that. And I'm having a great time. My wife is, in labor, but I'm enjoying the moment. And I'll never forget, they had all of these probes and patches and things attached, right? Like we do nowadays. And in the middle of, Aaron had come down, we were just chilling, an alarm started to scream. And out of nowhere, our beautiful birthing suite turns into what looks like an operating room. I don't know what to do. A very large lady came flying in scrubs, and she just stiff-armed me against the wall. And we had doctors and nurses, and I didn't know what was going on. Turns out that the cord was wrapped around my daughter's neck, and we were losing her. But as quickly as they came, they did their thing, and they went, Mr. Yolinger, your daughter's fine. And we went back to the birthing suite. And it wasn't an hour later. Was it an hour, Aaron? She says, sure. I think it was an hour. An hour later, we had our first child on Christmas Eve, 2000, and it was amazing. And I'll never forget, we were on a schedule that day because at 4 o'clock, there was an important event. It was a Sunday. And anybody remember what happened at 4 o'clock that day? All right, next slide. We We played San Diego, and if we won, we had a shot at getting into the playoffs. And guys, I will never forget, and any Steeler fan, you will understand, I'll never forget the moment that I held my daughter, who was about 2 hours old at this point, right here, standing, watching the Pittsburgh Steeler game. And I was amazed. I clung onto her so tightly, and just watching, Bettis was at his prime then. San Diego was San Diego even back then, and so we crushed them. It was an amazing moment. And in that moment, I thought, my goodness, this birthing room turned into an OR, turned back into a birthing room, and here I am 1,000 miles away in Green Bay, Wisconsin, watching my Steelers play as I hold my daughter. What could be better than that? What could be better than living in this time? Which then, my mind, it must have been halftime because I was thinking about other stuff. And I thought, I wonder what Joseph did that day. What did Joseph do with Jesus when Mary was hopefully resting? Did they watch? I don't know what they would have done then. But as I pictured it, I saw something more like a barn than I did a beautiful birthing suite at Bellin Hospital in Green Bay. Can you imagine, ladies who have had a baby in this room, can you imagine laying down in that? Thank you for the no. I got a no very quick from the front row. But that's probably what Mary did, right? If I understand it right, it was more of a cave than anything that Jesus was born in. It probably had some dirty hay. There was probably animals. I can't see the innkeeper going out there and sweeping everything up for these peasants to go hang out in his barn. And so I bet Mary experienced that. Okay, show of hands. Ladies, if you had your choice right here, right now, who would choose the birthing suite? Okay, some of you ladies aren't voting, and I don't believe you. Of course we choose the birthing suite. Oh my goodness. It's the year 2000 then. Of course that's what we do. And God could have waited till now, right? He could have. He could have been like, oh, Jesus, I'm not going to make you go down to that barn. In another 100 years, another 300 years, another 500 years, you'll have a much better place to be born. But he didn't. In fact, in Philippians chapter 5, verses 5, 6, and 7, it says this. It says, you must have the same attitude that Christ Jesus had. Though he was God, he did not think of equality with God as something to cling to. Instead, he gave up his divine privileges. He took the humble position of a slave and was born as a human being. Oh my goodness gracious. Let that sink in for a minute, please. I think of a birthing suite in Green Bay, Wisconsin as like the nicest thing ever. And yet Jesus was in heaven before he was born. He gave everything up for you and for me. And so I'd like to take a minute and take another look at this verse. I have highlighted a few words that I'd like us to focus on as we walk through it. See if maybe this impacts you a little. So, who is this written to? No, it's not written to me. Yeah, it's written to you and me. You must have the same attitude that Christ Jesus had. Has anybody been to Walmart in the last 2 weeks? God, I was at Giant Eagle here in Irwin just this afternoon buying some frozen pizzas, and it was a challenge to have the same attitude that Christ Jesus has. You must have the same attitude that Christ Jesus had. Though he was God, he did not think of equality with God as something to cling to. Wow. If I had my choice, if we ever have another child, which, oh my gosh, if we do, But if that ever happens again, I don't want to go to the barn. I want to cling to what we have nowadays, right? But God gave everything up for us. Instead, he gave up his divine privileges. He took the humble position of a slave and was born as a human being. Guys, that is the Christmas story. It's the story not of a human being born, but of God leaving heaven for you and for me, so that one day we could have a relationship with him. And so I want to focus on one word, and then we're going to wrap it up, because this is the family service. That word is cling. I got to thinking about that word, cling. Interesting word choice. What does it mean? Well, Mr. Webster tells us that it could mean to hold on to something or someone very tightly. It could also mean to stay very close to someone for emotional support or protection. And so this afternoon, I got to ask you, and this is where it gets personal, right? What is it that you cling to? Do you cling to your beautiful home? Nothing wrong with having a beautiful home, but is it what you cling to for protection, to feel good? Kids, is it your mom and dad? Is it your mom and dad that makes you feel safe? If so, that's not bad. For me, what do I cling to? I cling to my mountain bike. I cling to my hiking boots. I cling to my wife for all of these things. But in reality, it should probably be Jesus, right? Thank you. And so this morning, I keep saying that, this afternoon, on a very balmy Christmas Eve in the year 2015, I am going to ask you, as much as it is possible with kids here, to take 30 seconds out of the craziness of Christmas Eve. Before you go see family, before you open presents, before you make that dinner, I want you to take 30 seconds and take a look inside. What is it that you maybe cling to a little more than God? And is it possible for you to make a change? 30 seconds is going to feel like a long time, but let's try it. Ready, go. I don't know why God made sure you were here today, but he did. God looked into time and he saw you and he thought, you know what, I need him here tonight, or I need her here tonight to hear from me. I don't know what you and God talked about for the last 30 seconds, but whatever it is, I would like to ask you to follow through on it. Because this is a birthday party. This is a birthday party for Jesus, where we get to say, Jesus, happy birthday. And maybe you don't get a huge candle like the Skit guys. Maybe you don't bring a torch to light it up. But tonight, the best gift that you could possibly give Jesus is the gift of clinging to him. And so as we transition in our service from a time when a guy's up on stage talking to a time when we get to light candles and we get to sing Silent Night, my hope is that you'll take those moments and commit to God, whatever it is that he showed you, maybe you're clinging to too much. As everybody comes, as Rich leads us into our candle lighting time, I'm going to directly ask you, please don't walk out that door tonight without clinging to Jesus more tightly than you did when you came in.